Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Panay, and in today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about the secret dream that A Course in Miracles talks about. I'll be reading from an essay I wrote called Dream Worlds, and it comes from Alchemists of Suburbia, A Course in Miracles, Psychology, and the Art of Integration. Let's get stuck in. Dream Worlds. The idea that the world is a dream or an illusion is not unique to A Course in Miracles. According to the Hindu Advaita philosophy, for example, Brahman, or God, alone is real, and the world is a dream of multiplicity that obscures the truth and reality of oneness. A Course in Miracles likewise describes the world as a dream, but it's a dream within a dream. There are two dreams at the heart of the Course's metaphysics, and this makes all the difference. Subtitle: Dream Number 1. The Secret Dream. The creation story at the centre of the Course's metaphysics begins with the idea that a part of oneness experienced itself as separate from and different to the rest of oneness. Another way of saying this is that a part of an undifferentiated unity became self-conscious. This is clearly impossible, which leads to the question, how could the impossible happen? The Course's answer is that it didn't, because it couldn't. This is the central teaching of the Course and is the essence of its atonement principle, which is that the separation from God never occurred, and so we have nothing to atone for, no need to feel unhappy, unloved, or unlovable. So how do we explain our experience in the world as a separate physical being? The Course says it is as if we fell asleep and dreamed a dream in which we could be different from our source, a thing apart from everything. This experience of separation was the beginning of the ego thought system, and, dreaming we were separate, we wanted two things: to be the boss and to be noticed as something special by God. Since God couldn't possibly notice anything as special, as separate and different, we turned our back on his love, in effect relegating an awareness of oneness to the scrap heap and setting ourselves up as an autonomous individual, the boss of us. Imagining ourselves to be a separate entity, we projected our own need for special recognition and dominance onto God, making him into our own image. The ego's God demands veneration, divides us into sinners and saints, and is determined to punish us for usurping his authority, or at least for trying to. We also imagine that God has rejected us as something unworthy of his love, kicking us out of heaven, rather than it being we who abandoned him. The idea that God is capable of attack, of abandonment and retaliation, is what the Course calls the first projection of error outward. Here's a quote from the Course. You who believe that God is fear made but one substitution. It has taken many forms because it was the substitution of illusion for truth, of fragmentation for wholeness. That one error which brought truth to illusion, infinity to time, and life to death was all you ever made. End of quote. This first dream is one of sin. We feel we offended God, and guilt, then we feel bad, and shame, we feel inferior, and fear, we feel we're going to get what's coming to us, or that we're going to be abandoned. Subtitle: Dream Number 2, The World. Terrified of our fate at the hands of God's wrath, we escape the conflict within our mind by projecting the thought of separation outward, giving rise to a world of differences and competing interests, a world that is the opposite of heaven's oneness. In particular, where heaven is a state of love, the world is a screen onto which we project our separation fears. Quote from the Course, the dreaming of the world is started by your secret dream, which you do not perceive, although it caused the part you see and do not doubt is real. How could you doubt it while you lie asleep and dream in secret that its cause is real? End of quote. So while we lie asleep, we don't realize that we do dream in secret about this secret dream, about this battle in our relationship with God. That is the secret dream, which while we're asleep, while we are so focused on the world being the problem and the source of pleasure and of pain, we are not aware. That is being asleep. That is like the Course's definition of being asleep, is believing that our problems and the solutions are all to do with the world. We are not aware then, because we are dreaming when we believe that's the situation. We are not aware that we are dreaming about that secret dream, acting it out, perceiving it in the world as threats, as a threat to our safety, as our own sense of invulnerability. And we can never be truly happy as long as that secret dream is operating. It will be reflected in the world, and we will have a need to self-sabotage, we'll have a need to suffer, to experience suffering as a way of assuaging our guilt over separating from God. Carrying on. As long as we believe in the reality of separation from God, we'll perceive things in a way that justifies fear and feelings of unworthiness. And just as we projected the dream of separation and conflict onto the world, we project the guilt and shame associated with it onto others in an attempt to rid ourselves of fear. According to the Course, every problem, everything we experience as a problem that is, has its roots in the drama of separation between ourselves and God, the sum and substance of the secret dream. Now, what I mean here by emphasising what we experience as a problem, it's not the things in the world themselves that are the problem. It is the way we interpret those things. And if we have identified with shame and guilt and fear, we will interpret things in catastrophic terms. And we will interpret things in a way that reinforce that fear, that justify our belief in separation from God. The way we address this secret dream of conflict is to see how its themes are reflected in the world and notice our reactions. The, quote, God versus defiant child scenario, for example, plays out in every facet of life. We see it in relations between parents and children, partners, and between leaders of any description and their followers. Even if a computer doesn't give you what you want, it can become a handy screen for authority issues. Abandonment, betrayal, unfair treatment, it's all the stuff of the secret dream. Subtitle: Awakening and the Happy Dream. While our fears in the world seem bad enough, they are nothing compared to the terror we experienced in the first dream, in the secret dream. We remain focused on the world as the source of pleasure and pain because on some level we know there is something we fear more, deep within the recesses of our mind, and we don't want to face it. Looking at it, however, is the only way we can bridge the gap between our false ego self and our true spiritual self. Until we do, we are at an impasse. So what do we do? Fortunately, the Course provides a means of awakening us gently from the dream of separation. We don't have to resign ourselves to the devil we know for fear of losing it to a terrifying fate. Instead, we leave the fearful dream of the world by exchanging it for a happy dream, a gentler dream, in which our suffering is healed and our neighbour is our friend. That's paraphrasing the Course. This is the key to experiencing the Course's happy dream. We see our neighbour as our friend, a companion with the same self-doubt born of a belief in separation, the same spiritual self, and the same need to finally feel at home. The first step in awakening from the fearful dream of the world, of perceiving kinship instead of competition, is to realise we have a choice in how we perceive what is going on around us, and that it is this decision that determines our inner experience. So I would say that the first step in awakening from the dream is turning inward instead of outward, for the source, for the answer to our problems and for the source of our distress. So turning to the mind. The Course is always talking about not becoming mindless. So becoming mindless in the Course's definition is when we look to the world for the source of our problems and the solution to our problems. Being mindful is being mindful of what's going on in our mind and acknowledging that the choices we are making within our mind to either listen to the ego or the Holy Spirit will be producing our inner experience. Okay, carrying on. If we choose to identify with the ego, we will perceive things in a way that has us seeing good and bad and taking sides. If we choose to identify with the Holy Spirit, we will see only calls for help or expressions of love, no matter the form of someone's behaviour. It's in working with our perceptions of others that we undo the first projection of error, the belief that God is fear. We learn that God is love by undoing our guilt, projected onto others. This is the indirect means the Course provides for approaching our fear of God. Quote, "The face of Christ has to be seen before the memory of God can return." End of quote. Christ, in the Course, refers to our spiritual self, a complete and completely innocent self. We see the face of Christ in everyone by acknowledging our sameness, our shared interests, as this is the earthly reflection of recognising the oneness of the self. This leads to the happy dream, in which we no longer shoulder a burden of guilt and shame, knowing that the nightmare of the secret dream is untrue. We don't take our egos or the egos of others seriously anymore. We know that when we get lost in concerns about worldly security or feelings of competitiveness or unfair treatment, we've simply chosen to believe in the reality of the secret dream. When we're in the happy dream, we know that despite what goes on around us, despite our dualistic one or the other thoughts, everything is fundamentally okay. Not one note in heaven's song was missed. Workbook Lesson 155, I Will Step Back and Let Him Lead the Way, provides a lovely description of what it's like to be in the happy dream. Quote, "There is a way of living in the world that is not here, although it seems to be. You do not change appearance, though you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet." End of quote. We are still asleep. We still have an I, but that I now moves backstage, letting the love of ourself lead the way. Through practicing forgiveness, we have arrived at the lawns of heaven, where we wait patiently for God to take the final step and eternity joins with us. And that is the end of the essay. The world's purpose, therefore, or useful purpose, is to help us heal the beliefs associated with this secret dream. So what goes on in our relationships here is a manifestation or reflection of what we believe is going on between ourselves and God. Just as we project guilt onto others, we projected guilt onto God in that first projection of error outwards. As the Course says in the Little Hindrance section in chapter 26, each day and every minute in each day and every instant that each minute holds, you but relive the single instant when the time of terror took the place of love. But on a positive note, all of this can be undone. All of our experience of pain, suffering, of damage, of hurt, of loneliness, of guilt over what we accuse ourselves of having doing in this life as well, can be undone if we avail ourselves of the Holy Spirit's vision, of Jesus's vision, which lets us know that no real damage has been done to what is eternal. No damage at all can be done to that. And ultimately, that is the only reality. And there's a lovely paragraph in lesson 158, which is titled, Today I Learned to Give as I Receive, that I'd like to end with. I like it because it emphasizes that no matter how big or how dramatic, how devastating we may feel some things in our past have been, and the ego might say, well, how could you ever really get over that? Because that was just too big, or that just went on for too long. And it might kind of whisper in your ear that, maybe you are kind of damaged by that, or you have really damaged others by that. Well, this paragraph puts that kind of ego suggestion to rest. And that's what I really like about it. It's very liberating. So I would like to end on that note. It is from paragraph 9 in lesson 158. Thus are his sins forgiven him, for Christ has vision that has power to overlook them all. Now, Christ has vision to overlook them all because Christ's vision overlooks the body, overlooks what the body does. And as other parts of the Course explains, we only see a call for help or an expression of love. And the self in us, that spiritual self, or the Holy Spirit's memory, can help answer that call for love in somebody else and in ourselves at the same time. In his forgiveness are they gone. Unseen by one, they merely disappear, because a vision of the holiness that lies beyond them comes to take their place. It matters not what form they took, nor how enormous they appeared to be, nor who seemed to be hurt by them. They are no more, and all effects they seem to have are gone with them, undone and never to be done. I'll end on that liberating note. Thank you very much for listening. Tune in again. Bye.